Hey, how's it going? Today we're diving deeper into the world of Starfield. It seems like things might be heading in a troubling direction. The sudden emergence of bugs has plagued the game to a point where it's nearly impossible to play. Fans are becoming increasingly concerned due to the silence from Bethesda developers, and the lack of communication seems to be driving these players away from the game. But there may not be a reason to feel concerned. There appears to be more updates regarding the next patch. We are going to talk about this and much more in this video. First, we'll discuss the upcoming updates set to arrive shortly. Then we'll address some significant new bugs, and then we'll wrap up the video with my brutally honest review of Starfield 1 month later. So let's go ahead and dive into the recent news about the update, because most of us are eagerly waiting for that next patch to arrive. Well, there appears to be good hints that this next update will be arriving this week. And so you might be thinking, how do you know this? Well, because over at SteamDB, this allows you to take a look at what packages, depots, and things that have been edited and just pretty much changed overall. And so if you do not know what exactly SteamDB is, then allow me to explain it here. Pretty much, SteamDB is a third-party online database that gives you access to certain things like game updates, prices changes, player counts, and other statistics like that. It often gives us a chance to take a look and just kind of stay tuned to what can possibly happen in the future. This is exactly what SteamDB is, so this is not a speculation. There definitely is going to be a patch here soon. It's a good thing that we got that out of the way, because if you did not know exactly what I was looking at, then you'd probably say, hey, this dude's full of it. So exactly what I just said, SteamDB gives you access to certain things like seeing what changes have been made by the developer in terms of updates. You get to see the player count and all that stuff that I just mentioned. Now that we have that down, if you take a look at steamdb.info here, you can see that various changes have been made towards the left side when it comes down to these branches. Dev_tech has received an update 2 hours ago as I'm making this video. QA_staging_main has also received an update 18 hours ago. And then Green, Mauve, and Flight have also received some updates, one being 2 days ago and the two being 4 days ago. The good news is that there is more information regarding the update, because if you head over towards the update history, you can see the change list from top to bottom. This is another great way to take a look at some of the changes to see exactly what has been adjusted. So really, you do not have access to what they have changed, but you definitely can see what has been adjusted and moved around. All in all, this is a good sign that there will be an update here shortly. We just gotta hold on to our seats and wait for it to arrive. Moving on towards bugs, because the strangest thing about Starfield during early access was there were hardly any bugs, and then 2 weeks later patch 1.7.33 arrives and all hell broke loose. There has been numerous reports of bugs surfacing, such as lost items, invisible ships, spaceships emerging beneath the ground, and various other issues that have just popped up. Sadly, new bugs are now surfacing in the game, and the situation is beginning to take a turn for the worse. For example, this bug right here, you can see on the image that there's no bars on this Eklund ship, which typically there should be something, right? But now there appears to be nothing. Surprisingly enough, this is actually due to one of the quests from Walter Stroud, which is quite interesting, but what you can tell at the top here, this has happened to a recent player over on Reddit, with the title saying, quote, Starfield breaking more and more, end quote. Then in the middle, you can see the image that shows everything that's going on. And honestly, this is really surprising, because there just seems to be more bugs popping up. I thought this would just be it. You can tell that this fella goes down below to explain more in detail exactly what's going on. He says, quote, over-designed quest from Walter Stroud is bugged so bad that I cannot finish it. This is the third quest that is broken in a legitimate, honest playthrough. It boggles my mind that this game breaks more and more after that FOV update. This same exact Reddit user goes on to say zero word on a fix if the game is even going to be fixed. I am 400 plus hours, 50 plus hours on a second character, honest zero glitch, zero save reload, aka scum saving, and this game still breaks, end quote. I'm honestly not too sure what the last part there was, but to be honest, that does suck. If you have 400 plus hours into a game and then 50 plus hours on another one, and you're still experiencing issues, it's quite devastating for sure. This, of course, is not the only issue that has popped up recently. There are more new bugs that have just surfaced. For example, this Reddit user, The Profound Noun, had posted this video saying, quote, I got my first game-breaking bug. And then you can tell this video right here is showing that he cannot access his ship. Thankfully for this fella here, he is located on Jemison, so he can actually talk to the ship technician nearby, trade a ship out, or possibly even just swap the ship and see if it goes back to normal. If I had any clue, I would say that's probably going to fix it. But if it does not, then you're kind of just screwed. and I would highly recommend that you report this bug right away. There's also this other bug with your spaceship where you can actually just teleport back and forth instantly, and it seems really odd, but this Reddit user right here named Why Not 69, absolutely amazing name, says, quote, "Alright, this one made me mad," end quote. And you can tell right away, it's just teleporting back and forth. And he says that he ran to 3 points of interest, looted a ton of stuff, and then boarded the Crimson Fleet ship to steal. After that, that's when he saw all of this stuff go down, which is just absolutely terrible. But again, hopefully this will be fixed for you when that next update does arrive. And last but not least, there's also this other huge problem going on where when you do loot a pirate ship, there is a potential chance that you may take the NPCs with you when you do steal that ship. This is another huge issue going on, and if you do experience this, there's really nothing that you can do about it until the next patch, which I'm surprised that you can do this, because in Fallout 76, you could do something very similar to where you could actually take some of the enemies inside your bunker and have an unlimited spawn go on. And this seems quite similar to that situation, except there's no bunker. So to get a better idea of what's going on here, it's probably best to show a visual. So what you can see right here, Kennedy had posted this over on Reddit saying, quote, "Thanks to a bug, my ship now has an internal defense turret and turret control computer," end quote. And then take a look on the screen here, you're going to see this dude legitimately has a turret inside of his ship, and he also has that terminal on the right side where you will see it here eventually. And I'll just fast forward it right there. You can tell that it is definitely a turret control system, and you can actually control the turrets inside his own ship. This has got to be one of the most wildest glitches or bugs to ever come across. And not only that, he actually was able to spawn multiple pirates inside of his ship as well, and I'll show that clip here soon. But really, it's just one of those strangest bugs that's just popping up out of nowhere as of recently. And of course, these are just some of the bugs, only some of the bugs that are in the game. There is so much more going on right now, and we can only hope, again, that that next patch will fix some of these issues. And so we're going to move on and talk about Starfield in general, because I do want to give you guys my honest review and how I truly feel about this game. Let's begin by discussing the similarities, because most would argue that this game is essentially Fallout in space. And if you've played some of the previous Bethesda games, then this one definitely feels quite similar to Fallout, and their earlier titles, of course. That's perfectly fine, and I think it's okay that it feels second nature when it comes down to the overall movements, whether in first person or third person camera view. Some have even mentioned that the game itself has the same type of overall feel because the NPCs are pretty much an improved version of Fallout 4 or even Fallout 76, whether that's in terms of dialogue or even the movement. We can certainly compare the two to identify the differences, and undeniably has its similarities. I believe that this can potentially be a turnoff or a significant advantage for those seeking something similar to Fallout, yet different from the whole post-apocalyptic world. It's important to note that it's not entirely accurate to claim that this is the exact same game as Fallout, as you can travel between solar system customized ships and use those ships to fly pretty much wherever. However, there are loading screens, which brings me to the next topic. The loading screens in this game, for the most part, is something you will see. Often this can be a letdown because the majority of the games nowadays can operate flawlessly in a massive open world. There are a few examples such as Cyberpunk 2077, Dying Light 2, or even Grand Theft Auto 5. These games have massive open worlds, and so they're really filled with a lot of stuff to do. But for this game, it seems that you do have to use loading screens in order to get to where you need to go. But for many, this can be rather annoying. I believe it really boils down to the expectations that have been raised to such great heights in the gaming industry over the last few years. I know some would even debate that this game is not a true open world, which I guess again, it's quite debatable because you do have to open up the map, choose a loading screen, and then you're able to go to where you need to go. So in all reality, it is an open world. It's just there's a lot of loading screens in between it. Now, as for the planets that you land on, they are incredibly vast, almost too extensive for just walking or jetpacking alone. I believe it was an oversight for Bethesda to exclude vehicles in a game of this scale where there is so much ground to cover and explore. And funny enough, the developers considered vehicles but wanted us players to explore planets on foot because they felt that this was the best way for us to experience Starfield. I won't deny that I found it quite boring running to a civilian outpost located 1,000 meters away from my ship. The other locations are so far, apart from each other that when you're walking in that general direction, there's really nothing else to get lost in. There are structures, outposts, signs of life, and various items to discover, which is pretty enjoyable. There's no denying that it's great to come across these locations and items, but however, I find it unappealing that when I have to walk to one direction for such an extended period of time, it can be quite boring and I just kind of lose track of what I'm doing. The comparison between Fallout and Starfield falls short in this regard because at least in Fallout, I often found myself getting lost inside buildings, engaging with various NPCs, and so on before proceeding on to the main quest. Even when it wasn't part of the storyline, I would still get immersed into the world while trying to reach other points of interest, but I don't know. So far, myself, this is a bit of a downer because in Starfield, I was expecting more out of the main solar system, such as Cheyenne, Bali, Crix, and so on. I also feel that it was a huge miss for them not to include alien or at least more intelligent life in the game except for humans. I honestly think that this was a huge miss on Bethesda's part to bring in new stories, NPCs, and just unique stuff overall. Now, I've talked about the negatives, but what's so great about this game? Most importantly, the story is amazing, especially if you love the concept of a multiverse. I adore the idea that it revolves around this because it truly broadens your mind to the possibilities of what's out there. Additionally, the characters you can travel with will also bring a smile to your face when you're doing this. I also enjoyed exploring the planets as they can offer a mix of snowy biomes, grassy landscapes, and even a desert terrain. The structures, enemy outposts, and the various places to travel to are quite enjoyable, even without, a vehicle. Overall, Starfield is a fun and enjoyable game that offers a wealth of activities. It's well worth the money, especially if you enjoy some of Bethesda's previous titles, but at the same time, if you are not a fan of some of those other titles, then you might just want to pass on this because it's a Bethesda game. That's pretty much all I can say. And so with that being said, that's pretty much how I feel about this is pretty much how I feel about Starfield. I think it's an excellent game. It does need to be improved quite a lot when it comes down to the bugs and fixes, but overall, it's an enjoyable game if you have enjoyed some of Bethesda's previous titles. With that being said, thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you all in the next video.